Okay, hello, welcome back. This is going to be a review of the game Agatha Christie's The ABC Murders. We're going to take a quick look around the Bexhill crime scene, which is the second crime in the book and the movie. The book and the game, sorry. And a few movie versions as well, so that was technically accurate what I said. Anyway, I'm going to approach this review from the point of view of being someone who is a hardcore Agatha Christie fan. I absolutely love her work. I love what she's done, and we're going to look at this adaptation of her work. So first off, Agatha Christie, when you change things from one medium to another, say a book to a video game, there's obviously going to be some changes. And Agatha Christie is pretty unique among writers in that her complaint about adaptations of her work was that they were too close to the original work, which most authors do not complain about that at all. So that being said, we're going to take a start before showing you any of the real gameplay and look at what changes have been made to the storyline. So first off, one thing that's been added is that every single victim and quite a few other people seem to have these hugely complex lockboxes that you have to figure out, and also that Poirot is more of a crime scene investigator than the detective he is in the books, which, is good for gameplay and is a good change. Also, the locations seem to have been more condensed than they were in the books in regards to like the crime scene and so on. So let me give an example. So down here at the beach, we're going to go ahead and walk down here. We have the murder victim right there. Now, if I go back up this way, so up here, sadly I can't run. So this doorway up here is where she lived, the victim lived. And if I were to walk a bit over here, there's no real run button in this game, which gives it a much more leisurely pace, actually. So right over here is the cafe where the victim worked, all within about 100 feet of each other. And that's much more condensed than in the book. And you find it in other locations. And this, I think, was done mostly for budgetary reasons. It's instead of having to build an entire area just for a single interview, they'll have the person who's to be interviewed coming to an area already built, and so on. And that's a fine change. For fans like myself who really love the books, the good news is that for the most part the book itself isn't changed, except for the most part where it's necessitated by either budget or by the change of the medium. So about a half hour, what would take up about a half hour at the start of this game has been cut out. That was in the book. I hope that made sense. So a good chunk of the start of the book was cut out because it would take a half hour of a cutscene to show it, and people want to get in and to play the game. So that's what I meant by that. And for the most part, it follows the book, the crimes and so on, follows it pretty well. There are a few changes. Like I said, there's more lockboxes, and certain things are more made in depth. There's more of an in-depth look at it. The two major changes up until the third murder. We'll just do one change. The third murder is committed by a different weapon than was used in the book. That doesn't really affect anything or change anything. Now, after the third murder, you get a really substantial change. Location of the fourth murder was to take place at Doncaster, as noted in the letters received, during a major horse race, and full of crowds of people and stuff like that. And I think for budgetary reasons, they just couldn't do that. So you never really go to Doncaster, and really the means of the apprehension of a cust is very different at the end, and it's really done by phone from that location, and you have essentially a different victim picked out that was an invention of the game. And I think that's mostly done for budgetary reasons, but it actually made for an interesting change in gameplay, as up until that point, I knew exactly what to expect because I've read the book so much. So that was like a little bit of twist and made it a little, just teensy-weensy bit more suspenseful for me as a player and a reader of Agatha Christie. Now there was an additional there's an additional series of clues that you find throughout the entire game that's not in the book. It makes the mystery a little bit more complex, but also, at least for me, it makes the solution a bit easier to find for people who aren't familiar with the mystery. And there's nothing wrong with that. It did work for this medium and had more for you to investigate and to see. But yeah, I don't. It would not have been as satisfying in the book as it was in the game. So the mystery itself is followed correctly. There's nothing changed about the actual mystery. So that's good news, because in recent years, a lot of Agatha Christie adaptations have fundamentally changed the mystery, which is probably the stupidest thing you can do, just simply because Agatha Christie was so brilliant in that regard. So, let's continue to the actual gameplay. So first off, you've got a cartoonish look and feel to it, which nothing wrong with that. I think it quite worked with this. This is an investigation and so on. So there are basically 4 aspects to the gameplay. Let's get started. You have the conversations.
How do you do, gentlemen?
Like that, where
Chief Inspector?
you'll have them talking, but occasionally you'll have
again,
the option to
the
choose
victim,
Perot's
but
responses.
It's a young woman, 20 to 25 years
And
old.
that can affect
Death
how the
occurred
interview
last night
goes, that
between
can affect
11:30
other
and 1
things.
o'clock.
Sometimes
And
in
we
surprising
found an
ways.
ABC guide on the body.
Was she pretty?
I responded the way I thought Perot would respond in
on the murder.
in one of the interviews, and I actually made the person I was talking to cry by accident.
It often decides their destiny.
Which,
The body
yeah,
hasn't been
I did not
moved.
expect
You
to
can
have
see
happened.
for
So,
yourself.
yes, it does
Has
affect
the press been
things
informed?
in a subtle way.
Not yet, but
So
I'm
I don't
planning
think,
to.
I don't believe we're going to have
inform
a
them about the
response
presence of the ABC
here.
guide in Andover.
So
Nobody has reported a young woman.
I'm just going to skip
No witness.
through the dialogues
Indeed.
It's early.
quickly, so we can get on to the other gameplay. So, now let's see if it'll. Well, no, I'll go show you the. This is the basic crime scene investigation we've got going here, which is done as a form of observation. Now, the crime scene. This is subtly different than other observations, but it allows us to click on something. We can spin it around, and
The guide is open as the page for the Bexhill train times.
and like we see, it provides another clue to the mystery.
This key is too small to be one for a house. Without a doubt, it is for a padlock.
Now, that's actually the key itself is important to the game, but it's not important to the actual mystery. And I'll show you the key there.
These
So,
marks have been
observation of
left by a rope or
marks,
braided
so on.
cloth.
That's what happens. So, I'll just get through these.
A
This
braided silk belt.
is
may have
actually
belonged
not
to
the
the victim.
complex part of the game. This is super simple.
Apart from the marks on her neck, there are no signs of the struggle. She didn't manage to hit her assailant.
It's more or less just taking the cursor around, and
The young woman wasn't wearing shoes or a
that
coat.
actually
Was
reminds
not
me of the
carrying a
old
bag.
point and click
That's
type.
strange.
It's a modern adaptation of the old
Either the
point and click
murderer stole
that
her
they used to
belongings,
use with a
or she
mouse on
put them
computers.
somewhere safe. Maybe so that she could bath.
And let's see, where is the final one? Okay, there we
She
go.
was a great beauty. Strange that chap didn't notice it. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Okay, so now we are jumping into another aspect of gameplay, which is we decide how the victim was killed. So what we do is, there was a braided silk belt, so that's a clue. And we pick out the clue. So she had none of her belongings. She did not struggle. Okay. And let's see what else we got. Victim was pretty. Marks on her neck. So if you get the right numbers there, it will come to the conclusion that you're looking
Poor
for,
child
that she was
must have been
strangled.
with his braided belt.
Now, as it goes on, it gets more and more complex. So when there's 4 things to choose from and 12 different clues,
now try and get how brain cells to work.
That becomes a lot harder to do that sort of thing. So, common points between the 2 murders. So, let's see. Letter announcing. There it was. Andover ABC guide. Marks. And she had 1 wound on the back of her head. So there's the ABC guide. And we are going to do that. Nope, that didn't quite work. So let's see if we can replace that with that. Or replace that with that. There we go. The killer signs his crimes. So, like I said, sometimes it's a little hard to figure out what clues are going to be valuable. Now, let's see. So, are the crimes in Andover and Bexhill the work of the same man? And the letter announced both of them? Nope, that's not it. 1 wound? No. Marks on the neck? Or, let's see. The press hasn't published it. So, there we go. And as it gets more goes on, it gets more complex, and oftentimes you'll spend a lot of
That's what
time.
I thought. She shows
so, we're just skipping past dialogue here. And we'll move on to another aspect of which is, this is like the box solving. It's another aspect of gameplay. I should note, because I don't think I'll be getting to it, there are 2 types of observation. So, if you'll notice, why I'm picking this one, well, you'll notice the numbers is odd and different. Now, let's take a look. So we have the option to pull up what we have and observe it. So if we observe it, this one's not the best, but we can see number 6 is on there. So we go to the 6th one, which is 5, 6, 7, 8, even though that's upside down. So now this is the thinking or the lockbox type of problem. So now we have options to interact, and what that will do is it'll bring it up close, then we can interact again. So we can interact, in this case, move it. Okay, possibly. There we go. You have to move things the right way. So, okay, we moved that. We have 715 scrawled there. So we go back. Okay, we have a combination. So let's interact. Now, we have a combination lock, so...
A dual locking padlock.
So,
I need to find the code and then insert a key.
Okay, so we need the code and to insert a key. I've already done the code there, so... And yeah, this is one of the easier problems to solve. Although, I'll admit, on my first playthrough, I could not figure out how to access the key, so... It took me a long time to solve this. Even though I obviously had the key. Now, to access it, you push on the left, just not the, what's it called? The directional button. And then it gives you the option to use or to observe it. So we'll use it, and then we can come bring it over here and use that in the lock. So yeah, this is just an example of the problem-solving mechanic. And, you know, for low budget, it's a pretty well done. So let's we're going to take a look. This is the different type of observation. What you have to do is take the cursor. Oh no, it's still the same as before. So that's my bad. So this is the same as the other observation. There's a different observation. So you have to get this in right the exact.
Betty's first day
there
at
we
work.
go.
Mom is very proud of you.
And get that to work there.
The young lady did.
So yeah, we found the name of the victim there. We've got... I'm going to do the shoes first.
It definitely was here that the victim left her belongings.
So we get the conclusions there.
The purse is full. Yet again, we can dismiss theft as the motives for the murder.
So,
here is the watch she must have removed to prevent it from getting wet. A top-brand lipstick.
So yeah, we'll skip past all the observations. So we've got all these things, and we've got the photo with us as well.
Jap has gone to the police.
Never.
Yes.
You are
so
impressionistings. Let
the final part of the gameplay is kind of like the his observations while that we saw of that we just did, but it's where Perot will make a conclusion about someone, and then you have to observe a scene. and see if you can validate the conclusion or not. And yep, so that's kind of a quick look at the problem solving, the gameplay and the problem solving of this game. We'll leave you with Perot morosely looking out at the sea. Anyway, I would recommend it if you like this sort of problem solving game. It is pretty fun. It's respectful to the original content, which is very, very important to me since I really love Agatha Christie's work. And it is a pretty fun game. It's about 6 or 7 hours of play, and there is one other thing I wanted to pull up and show. So this is kind of an interesting thing. So this is the pause screen, and you can change the music, voice sound, and stuff like that. But you have that option there, use a clue. So if you don't quite know what to do, well, I'll show you what happens. So I click the use a clue for that, and Perot walks towards where I'm supposed to be going. That works the same way for pretty much everything. Let's see if we'll wait till he gets there. So yeah, it basically takes control and walks you to where you're supposed to go. And yep, it takes a moment for this to load. So that's kind of an interesting little feature, because that way you don't have to resort to looking things up online. Now, an interesting aspect of it is you can see the 2% by use a clue. So you cannot use 3% now. So that it slowly loads the use a clue ability, just very slowly loads up. So it actually gives you the clue, and then gives you an option to try to solve beyond that clue. So it does actually encourage you to play the game, and I think that's actually a very brilliant way to do it. And you don't have to pull out your phone and try to Google or Bing a solution out of the phone. You can just go, oh, I don't get this. Let me use a clue, and so on. And many of the lockbox ones are very difficult to solve, and it's oftentimes a small little detail that you've just completely overlooked or didn't realize was important that provides the solution to the lock puzzle. So the use a clue is very good, and in that regard, I think it's very accurate to Agatha Christie's writing, because most of her mysteries were like that. You'd have all the clues, but it's just some weird little detail that you'd overlook that solves the mystery. So anyway, that was a quick look at Agatha Christie's ABC Murders. And here we are. I was going to end looking out at the sea, but I'll end looking out over this table. So anyway, like and subscribe if you like it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.